Hey everyone, welcome back. This is part 13 in the video work logs. In today's project we're going to go ahead and get started on the back panel, the I/O shield, and possibly the roof. So let's not waste any time, let's just jump right in and get started. Alright guys, to get started today we're going to start working on the back panel here. I got this old piece, back shield from a salvage PC that I've been using in this build. And I just took this from the back panel. And we're going to attach this to this 0.8 millimeter stock styrene that I had already gone ahead and cut out this this area here using my Dremel tool and an X-Acto blade. And I marked out the areas here that we're going to use. We're going to pre-drill these holes, and we're going to use these areas in here for my rivet gun, and we're going to attach the two panels together using some aluminum pop rivets. And then once we finish with that, then we can go in and start building up the areas in here for all our roof lines, some of the water cooling housing that's going to go in here, the intakes, some of the holes for the water cooling intakes, and then all the areas in here for some generators and just some paneling interests. So let's go ahead and get started on that. Alright, I just went in with my rivet tool and some of my aluminum rivets and just secured these two panels together and add some solvent glue underneath these panels as well, just to give it a little stronger bond. What I want to do right now is go ahead and just cut a piece that's going to go along this bottom here and attach these two panels together. Okay, so we got the patch piece in place here, and what I want to do right now is just go ahead and start building up some panels in here, start defining this roof line, and start getting all these little generators and all the paneling interests built in here. And then over here in this area here, just a little bit later, I'm going to start cutting out the areas here for the power supply cutout. I got a template marked out that it's just going to go right over this area. It should be just a quick cutout, but what I want to concentrate on right now is this area right over in here and get the roof line defined before I work on this area over here. What I'm working on here is I'm going to make sure everything is lining up between these two areas. That way when I attach the motherboard to the motherboard tray, that everything is lining up with our back panel and our I/O shield here. But what I'm doing right now is just doing a little bit of detail work on my motherboard. I'm just adding some dusting powders here just for some weathering effect. Then I'm just going to do a spray, a flat spray over this for a protectant. But I want to get this part finished first so I can put the motherboard on and attach it to that panel and make sure everything's lined up perfectly. Okay, so the measurements of our back panel that we took are lining up perfectly with the motherboard tray and the motherboard and the I/O shield. Let me set up the camera and I'll show you a view from the other side. Alright, now view from the rear here, you can see that the motherboard is lining up perfectly inside that I/O shield. So what I can move on to right now is start building up the panels here on the back of this back panel here. Start installing some paneling detail, maybe some windows, some graphics and generators. Cut out the port for or the opening for our power supply, and really kick up this part of the build and get it really detailed. Okay, now we got the I/O shield here, guys. Since I've been doing some painting already and I got my airbrush out and all primed, what I'm going to go ahead and do before I move on to doing all the raw construction on that back panel is I'm going to go ahead and paint my I/O panel. And I have a few different ideas for this. I was thinking about putting a paint mask over this back plate here and kind of making some hazard lines through here. And so I think that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. And then after I do the hazard lines, I'm going to go ahead and actually do some other paint graphics on here as well. Maybe do some ports signs and signals, and I don't know, a bunch of other cool little things in here. So let's go ahead and get started on that by laying down a paint mask and getting some colors mixed up and start laying down our first coats. Alright, I just went ahead and added the I/O shield into the back panel here, that way you guys can get an idea what it looks like. What I want to move on to right now is start constructing some of the panels and the roof line that's going to go across this back panel. Get the power supply cut out here for our power supply, and just really start kicking this part of the build up. Alright guys, I just went in and just cut out the area here for my power supply, and now I'm just kind of going in with my rotary bit and kind of just running off these edges and just giving it a good sanding so it's nice and smooth. And then we'll line up our power supply with this to make sure everything is lining up perfectly, and then I'll go ahead and pre-drill the holes for the power supply attachment. Okay, so the piece that I'm working on right now is in fact basically some of the paneling details that we're going to start laying across these panels. And just like I did on the front sheet in the last update, I'm going to create this all in one sheet and go ahead and just scribe in those lines with my scriber tool, much like we did here on the motherboard tray. All this is just a one sheet piece of styrene. I just kind of just went in and just cut out those paneling details. And I'm going to do that with the same piece here. And this entire piece is just going to lay right over the top of the back panel here, just like so. And then we'll go in and add all the paneling detail. I got some really cool panel effects. Actually, it simulates kind of like a tin siding or kind of corrugated siding that's going to go back behind these sheets right here. And it's a product by Evergreen Plastics. And I'll show you that once I start cutting out those pieces. But let's go ahead and start cutting in our scribe lines here into this styrene and get these two sheets of styrene adhered together. Alright, we just went ahead and finished up with the back panel detail here. Now I'm just going to go ahead and attach this to the back of the back panel and just using a little bit of my solvent adhesive. Alright, I'm just kind of working my way across my panels now and creating some paneling detail. This is the product that I just told you about just a minute ago. This is this product by Evergreen Styrene here, and it's actually a V-groove, and it has a nice kind of bevel into it, something that I don't have to carve in myself. And what I'm using this for is I'm going right back there behind all those little panels and laying just little pieces in, just in some random areas, just to give it the panels just a little bit more detail. Now I just need to work on this area over here, start covering up some of these frame lines here from this back panel, start working up on some generators, and start building out on the roof line, and really kick this part of the build up. Alright, what I'm working on here is this little panel that I'm going to install some LEDs up inside, and this whole little piece is going to be attached to right above our I/O shield right here. And those LEDs are just going to illuminate this whole area here, so like if you're gaming at night and you need to attach something back there in that back panel, some sort of USB input or whatever, that whole area is going to be illuminated for you. So what I need to go ahead and do is create a little bracket here that are going to hold the LEDs, solder some LEDs together, and get the panel attached to the back panel here. Alright, so we got our LEDs all soldered together here, and then I'm just going to use this 3-pin fan connector to attach to the motherboard to illuminate these LEDs. And this panel is going to be attached right up underneath this one, and this whole thing is going to be attached right above our I/O shield. Alright, we're about 90% complete here on the back panel assembly. What I want to get concentrated on right now is move behind the panel here and start working on the power supply enclosure. And the power supply that we have chosen for this build is the Cooler Master Silent Pro Gold 800 watt SLI certified power supply. And what I'm going to do is going to create an enclosure for that power supply. So let's go ahead and just move behind this panel and start cutting out some pieces and start working on that enclosure. Alright, I just used my hole saw attachment to cut out this 135mm hole intake for the power supply. Right now I'm just going to go ahead and tracing in some lines here that I'm going to use with my scriber tool and go ahead and scribe out some scribe lines here. Alright, so we just finished up the power supply cage here, and I just applied some putty down into these seams, and while this is setting up and getting ready to dry, I'm starting to work over here on this little doorway that's going to be constructed in this area here. And I got up some panels right now starting to be assembled, and I got my cutout for my LED that's going to shine down onto the doorway. And here's the doorway here. We'll paint this up real nice, and it'll be just attached just like so, and that LED will shine down to illuminate that doorway. So let me go ahead and finish cutting out these other panels, these side panels, and get this thing all assembled, and then we'll get attached to the doorway and create a little railing that's going to go right around that area right there. Alright, so I just finished assembling the panels here for the doorway, and the LED is installed right up inside that panel right there. And this will just be attached right here along this kind of this walkway, this catwalk that we're creating. And then I'm going to create some railings that are just kind of going to wrap around here, maybe a little staircase coming down to the main floor. I was thinking about actually building maybe like a storage area up here for some biohazard barrels as well, but I don't know if that will get in the way of my video cards and sound cards and such. So I got to test that idea out, but let's go ahead and get the railing created, wire in the LED, and then get this part installed. Alright, with our door installed, I'm going to get started on the construction of this railing system that's going to wrap around this little platform right here. And the product that I'll be using for this is some strip styrene from Evergreen Scale Models. So let's go ahead and get some pieces cut out and start laying in that railing system. So the first step that I need to do to create this little railing system that's going to wrap around this area here is make a paper template of the floor outline. And I've already done that. I just use a piece of Bristol paper and just cut it down to size. And what I'm going to do is use this template to lay out my grid and the spacing for my railings, and then just glue all those pieces together from this template and then attach it right here to the main platform. Alright, I got this product from Plastrux. It's a diamond plate finish. You can kind of see it there. And I'm installing this right along this catwalk right here, just trying to give a diamond plate finish to the floor. And then we'll go ahead and install our little doorway that we created just right over the top of that diamond plate finish. Alright, my good friend Tom over at Modeler's Brand Hobby Supply sent me these sample packets of strip LEDs. So we're going to use these LEDs right underneath our panel right here. So let's go ahead and pick out the color that we want to use, which I think is going to be probably a yellow, either a yellow or an orange, and get these pieces soldered together and get attached underneath that panel. Alright, I just went ahead and just added all these little LEDs in here. It's some strip LED. It's pretty easy to install. What I want to do now is just create a little panel that goes right over the top of those LEDs just to dress it up a little bit. And then we'll just do a paint job over these railings and then attach them to the side of the case. Alright, I got the LEDs there installed. And you can kind of see the glass going right over the top of those LEDs. What I need to do now is go ahead and clean up some of these edges here with a little bit of putty, and then I can start spraying this down with my first coats of color. Alright, I just went ahead and attached the two platforms here, and I also created a kind of like a little control panel back there. You can see the LEDs illuminate up here up underneath the panel. What I want to do right now is work my way around back to the front side of the case and start defining that roof line a little bit more. Do a little bit more paneling detail, and then start working on some paint graphics. Alright, I just cut down the lights a little bit here, and here's a look at the control room door illuminated. Alright, so we move around back to the back side of the case again, and what we're going to work on is some of the roof outlines here and a little bit more of the paneling detail, and work on a paint job. Alright, I'm just continuing to make my way across these panels and defining this roof line here. I'm using some of this product from Plastrex for some of the detail pieces. So I'm just going to continue working along here until we get to the point where we're finished with the roof line, and then we can start working on the paint job. Alright, I just finished up most of the paint and graphic work here. Now we're just going to move back around to the inside of the case. I'm going to attach the motherboard to the motherboard tray, put the power supply in the power supply cage, and show you the final pics of this part of the build. Alright guys, I just kind of attached the motherboard lightly to the motherboard tray and then attached the power supply into the power supply cage. Just want to give you guys kind of an overall feel of how the interior of the case is going to look like. And I'll be doing a hardware profile here in just a minute. Alright guys, let's take a quick look at some of the components that are going to be going into this build. For the platform, we have the Sabertooth X58 motherboard. This board is a monster overclocker, so since we're going to be water cooling this PC, we should be able to get some really good benchmarks out of that thing. And we're going to probably most likely be going with the 990X CPU, the i7 990X, probably just shortly here. For the power supply, we have the Cooler Master Silent Pro 800 watt series power supply that I profiled for you guys just a little bit earlier in this video. And then for the memory, we have the J-Skill Sniper Series triple channel kit, and I have 2 of those for 24 gigs total. And the heat spreaders on those are really cool. They're shaped like little pistols and should tie into that Sabertooth really nice and just create a really cool effect for the theme that we're creating here on this PC. And for our storage, we have the Western Digital 500 gigabyte mechanical hard drive. That's the Caviar Black Edition. And then for our operating system, I have 2 crucial 128 gigabyte solid state drives. And for the sound, the Fatality Series X-Fi Titanium Creative Labs sound card there. And then over there in the corner, we have 2 GTX 560 Ti EVGA graphics cards that we'll be upgrading to the 590s once those drop in price. So that's a quick look at the hardware, guys. Let's get back over to the PC, finish up some of the graphics on the front, and get this part of the build finished up. Alright guys, we just moved around to the back of the case here, and we're just going to finish up some of these panels with a little bit of weathering and rust effect, and I'm using my chalk pastels to achieve that effect. We just got one more panel to create, guys. We just got to finish the roof and a little bit of some interior mounting and a couple hard drive cages, and then we can start piecing all these panels together and call this project complete. We're going on a little bit over 2 years right now, and I'm just itching to get this thing done, and I know you guys are itching as well to see the final results, so we're getting close, guys. So I just want to thank you for tuning in these videos. I know this update took a while to get out, so I appreciate your patience. So special thanks to all my subscribers. Special thanks to my sponsor, MMPC Tech. Stay inspired, guys. Keep creating, and I'll see you in part 14.